Following on from the Noble Lord Winston, just on behalf of so many people, to thank him for the work he's done on IVF. I think women everywhere are in his debt. My Lords, it's been stated here as though it's uncontestable that COVID has hit women harder than men. But despite a lifetime of fighting for women's rights, I do worry how helpful it is to see every issue through the prism of gender. I reflected on this in a previous debate earlier in the week in the House on women's health strategy, when the Noble Baroness Thornton said that although older men have a higher risk of death of COVID, that unfairly means that older women experience higher levels of grief that affects their mental health. And it just seems such a perverse way to view the issue of more men dying, that you'd concentrate on women grieving. I really want to say that women's rights and women's rights campaigners must try and escape too much emphasis on victimhood and grievance. And I'd rather a more positive approach to emphasising women's agency and what they can achieve, and avoid a divisive agenda, particularly one that pits men and women as competitors. It's in that context that I was disappointed to read the House of Commons Women and Equality Committees complain that the government is priorities for recovery are heavily gendered in nature. And they complained about the investment in science, technology, engineering and construction, and instead suggested a more women-friendly investment in the care sector. And that just seemed far too fatalistic. I mean, I want women to be engineers and builders, and I think we should invest in the care system, and that should be a social priority, not just because women work there. If anything, I want the government to get on and kickstart with a more productive economic growth and create jobs for everyone. So I just think that focusing on gender can be a distraction in that instance. I was disappointed to read some of the Build Back Better literature that we'd been sent around for this debate, again in the name of gendered employment opportunities, arguing that one silver lining of the pandemic is working from home, and that this could become normalised. I assume it was written by researchers with big houses and gardens and the kind of broadband that I only can dream of. But a warning, I mean, women historically fought long and hard to escape the private sphere, for the right to work in workplaces, to join the public sphere. And I just really dread that if we come out of this pandemic, people try and say that being confined to the home is a victory after all that work by women and trade unionists to get women into a position of equality at work. And indeed, can we all here today recognise that we stand on the shoulders of those women who fought, those giants who fought for us in the past? I was really glad to be lobbied by the Matchstick Strike girls, by the way. Sarah Chapman, Alice Francis were mentioned. These people in the past were dissident women, not victims, but fighters and campaigners and trade unionists who we owe so much to. And long may the dissidents win. Just finally, I do think it's important that we recognise that we are celebrating International Women's Day as though there are no issues around the fact that you cannot say, I am a woman, without it causing problems. The fact there needed to be a fight in this House to turn pregnant persons into the word mother as a compromise because woman was too radical. So if we don't want to just look like we're ticking boxes, going through the motions, then I do think that we have to recognise that the gender-critical debate needs to be had out here. And I know that there are many women, we've heard from Baroness Emma Nicholson, the Noble Baroness, who's been wonderfully inspiring on this, but many people have said that we should do something about this when you have to fight to get in the census women mentioned or set biological sex. So let's give a lead on that rather than just ticking the International Women's Day box.